Hello and welcome to the first episode of Best of British Blackwell, where we're going to be cooking some Tomahawk ribeye steaks, which I bought from Morrison's a couple of weeks ago for £15 each, which I think was a bargain. It was a deal that they were doing especially for Father's Day, and I think this type of steak and this type of weight is normally at least double that price. So we've got two big Tomahawk steaks here. Now, the way we're going to cook them is we're going to barbecue them or grill them on the barbecue. But before we do that, I'm going to do a short-term dry-aged method on them, which basically means aging them out a little bit and drying them out a little bit over a tray of salt for a number of days. A lot of people will be turning around and saying, well, you know, you normally dry age steak for at least 21 days or 28 days or 48 days, and the reason I'm not going to be doing it for as long as that is that I'm not trying to dry age these to get that chocolatey kind of colour on them or dry them out too much. I'm really only trying to dry out the fat content on these steaks, which is quite high with them being ribeyes. That will mean that they don't spit so much fat into the grill on the barbecue and cause too many flames. We're looking for a nice charcoal effect on these and not burn around the outside. So how do you dry age them? It's very simple really. You get yourself a decent roasting rack. This one actually came from IKEA. It's probably the best one I've had for quite a while. It was £6. In the bottom of the roasting rack you place some salt. Now I am using pink Himalayan salt. The reason I'm using this is that it's really coarse, it's really big kind of grains of salt, and that means that you can use this stuff again and again for the dry aging process. I will do another video later where I dry age some meat for, you know, 4 weeks, 28 days, something like that, and I can use this salt for that. You can use any salt you like, rock salt, kosher salt, dry salt, table salt, anything you like. But the key is to just place it in a big pile on the bottom, or evenly on the bottom of the roasting rack. Then you want to get your steaks and put them on top of the roasting rack and literally just place them on top there. This then needs to go in a nice, clean, cold refrigerator. Fortunately, I have a refrigerator in my garden which I use for beers when we have parties and so on. And I will be placing these in there. I've given the fridge a really good clean out. That doesn't mean to say I've taken some of the beers out, that's fine, they can stay in there, but you want the fridge nice and cold, nice and clean. You don't want the smells of any other types of foods or so on getting into this meat, so another idea to prevent that is to get some baking soda, put it in a little jar and put that in the bottom or the side of the fridge as well. So these are going to go into the fridge now. You're going to see a little close-up of these in a moment, and then we will come back to these in a few days' time when they've dried out a little bit, and we'll be applying some rubs and cooking them. So I thought I'd just give you a quick view of the fridge that the steaks are in. It's a bog standard fridge freezer that we brought with us when we moved from our old house into our new. We have this in the garden. It's just in a little kind of corner of the garden here that's tucked under a roof. So it stays nice and dry. It did have a good clean out there, the beers that I was talking about. We've got some other drinks in here as well, so there's no other food stuffs in here, but I did put the baking soda at the bottom just to keep it kind of odour free. And as you can see, the steaks there just sitting on that tray. You know, they're not going to go much darker than that. They will darken a little bit. They won't go much more than that, but the key thing is that the fat will dry out and you'll get a nice kind of almost oaky taste to that fat when we start to render it down on that barbecue. Okay, so welcome back. We have, to recap, we've dry aged these steaks for about a week, 5-6 days really, and you'll be able to see, I'll give you a close-up in a minute, you'll be able to see the effect that that's had on the fat and the actual colour of the meat as well. I mean, this one's got a nice kind of dark red. It's not completely dry aged, but the fat content has dried out quite a bit, which means that when we grill it on the barbecue a little bit later, it's not going to smoke up and flame up too badly. The process that we're going to go through now is applying some rubs and some seasoning to it to give it a bit of extra flavour and certainly flavour that fat up a little bit. I've got 2 rubs that I'm going to be using. I bought these from a company called the Food Rub Company. They're available on Amazon. They're quite cheap. We've got New York steak rub here, and we've got Carolina barbecue rub here as well. And we're just going to be using some salt and pepper. There's not going to be any oil or anything added to it at this stage. We will use a little bit of oil when it eventually goes in the grill. But these have been out of the fridge now for about an hour. So it's quite a warm day here in London, which is a bit unusual really. And there's a train going past as well, just as I'm in the middle of doing this, so apologies for that. But we're going to season them up now, and then we're going to leave them for another few hours to let that kind of marinate in before we put them on the grill. Okay. Okie dokie, so you've got a close up now of hopefully the Carolina barbecue rub there, and the steak rub that we got from Amazon, of all places. And basically, first of all, nice bit of salt and pepper on either side. Notice that I'm leaving them on the roasting rack as well. This will help to pick up the kind of any excess rub that we want to keep on there at a later date. We can reuse that while it's actually on the grill. And obviously when these come off of the grill, they'll need a little bit of resting as well. So this is the perfect place to keep them. I'm not going to go too mad with these rubs. I'm only going to use a little tiny bit of a sprinkling, really, more than anything else, just to get some nice flavour on them. But literally kind of massaging that into the meat and working it in so that you don't waste too much of it. Yeah, so a little bit of that as well. And the dry aging's actually helped to get this rub to stick as well, because the meat feels quite dry, but still able to hold onto the rub itself. I'm not going to use too much of the New York steak rub, and so I'm going to finish this off, get around the sides and so on, and then the next stage of this is going to be to grill them on the barbecue. Okay guys, just really quickly, we're going to make a very quick side dish for the steaks that we're cooking tonight. It's going to be a very basic British style potato salad. So what we've got here is some pre-boiled Jersey Royal new potatoes. There's about a pound of those in there. We're going to add to that very quickly some spring onions, or as our American cousins like to call them, scallions. They're just going to be quite finely chopped up, like I'm going to do here. Some of them are really finely chopped up, some of them are quite coarsely chopped up, and you use the whole thing because you get a really kind of nice sweet flavour towards the end of the tail of the onion here. So these guys are going to go straight in here, no messing around, just making a real mess here. So those go in as well. Then you want to add a really nice good crack of black pepper. Everybody loves black pepper. We want lots and lots and lots of this. I'm not putting any salt in here. I'm going to use some garlic granules, which give you another kind of dimension of flavour, and they also add to the salty texture of them as well. And then we have some really decent good heaps of mayonnaise. We'll do 4 and 5 good heaps in there. Give that a really good stir around. 5 heaps of mayonnaise to start off with, and if you think you need some more, then you can add to it, but I think that's just about perfect. If you want to make this extra kind of luxurious, then you can start to think about adding some double cream in there. So 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise and maybe a tablespoon of double cream, but there we go. That's a really decent, lovely, old-fashioned British potato salad. Okay, so we're ready to cook these steaks now. They have been sitting in the rub that we put on earlier for about 3 or 4 hours. They're at room temperature, they've got the rub on them, they're looking absolutely fantastic. We're going to be grilling them on this barbecue here. You're probably looking at this barbecue thinking that's nothing special. It isn't. It was a £69 barbecue or $50 barbecue from company that we have over here in England called Homebase. It's a rip-off of a Weber barbecue, but I've had it for the last 2 years and it's perfect for what I use it for, which is grilling good meats like this. We're going to stick them on here. I have charcoals loaded up to one side and then just a clear rack on the other, and I'm going to be putting them on the clear side of the rack. What we've also got here is some butter with some garlic and some herbs and spices and some of the rubs that we put on the meat earlier, and I'm going to be brushing that with this little concoction here. So we're going to get them on. You're going to get some close-ups of how I cook them. I'm going to be aiming for a medium rare cook today, and it should be really good. So let's get these on here. I promise you, if they taste as good as they smell even now, it's going to be a fantastic piece of food. So let's give them a little brush with the herb brush that we've got here. There we go, you can see the oils and the butters that we've got in here. So this is literally some olive oil, some butter, some garlic, and some of the rubs that we put on the steak earlier, just literally mixed up, and we've got a bunch of rosemary here, which will give them a bit of a sheen with the brush, and we'll cook these through until they're at a medium temperature, and then you come back a little bit later and we'll be eating them and showing you how good they taste. Okay, so we've cooked the steak now. It was on the grill for about 30 minutes. It was a really hot, intense heat. We kept it away from the flame so nothing has burnt on it, so the rubs had a good chance to stay on the actual flesh of the steak there. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to give it a little cut, show you what it looks like inside. So I'll sharpen this knife up, and Jane on the camera is going to give you a little close up of what we've got going on here. Let me just get a little fork out. And I aimed for rare to medium rare, so there's quite a big bit of fat here, which I'm going to cut away, and then I'm going to cut through here as well, and that's pretty good. I mean, that's been able to rest for quite a while as well, so I'm going to cut that off just about there. I'm going to have a little go with this. Cheers, everybody. That's good. Obviously, that is really good. You get all of the really beefy taste that you would expect with a ribeye. There's a bit of fat around the outside that just melts in the mouth because it's been allowed to kind of dry age a little bit, so it's still there, it's still got texture to it, but the rub around the outside of the meat has been absolutely fantastic as well. You can taste all those spices coming in there. And I think the thing that I would say that I'm most surprised at is the rosemary, from the rosemary bush. It just tastes absolutely magnificent and superb. A couple of thank yous to say. Thank you to T-Roy Cooks, who's a bit of an inspiration for this particular meal. His dry aging mechanism is completely down to him. One of the reasons why I decided to start my channel, and to my wife Joan for helping out with the camera there, and to my friend Frenchie, who's going to help me the rest of this, and Oscar, the dog down here, who's probably going to end up with the buns. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you for watching the first one, but the next video I'm going to do some British tandoori chicken in my Napuri tandoori oven, but I've got all kinds of things planned for you as well, so stay tuned and keep cooking. Cheers.